This is the gist of what we are going to make for our texture. First off, when you are making a texture, you want to put your inches to pixels, and you want your size for your Photoshop page to be 1024 by 1024. You always want it to be a square, or else it'll look a little wonky. This is especially effective for tiling. Once your new page has started, go to Channels, over here, and there is a Click New Layer button at the bottom, right here. Click that, and you will get what should appear is a layer called Alpha 1 underneath the blue layer. Hopefully, if done right, Alpha 1's background should be black, because that is the default color. But for this project, we want white. So you can paint it white, or you can erase it white. I am going to erase it really quick. Go to the Layers tab. Put your brush color setting back to black if you changed it, or if you didn't, then leave it at black. Pick whichever paintbrush you want, but one preferably with jagged edges. So I have a preset one right here. You also want this to be a bit big. You don't want it to be itty bitty. Now, you're going to do a gradient-like effect with this, where it goes from light to dark. The darker part will represent where the water is deeper and the ice is thinner. The light edges will be representational of the shallower waters and thicker ice. So, leave a bit of a border, and make sure it's on brush and not eraser like I just did. Sorry about that. Okay, let's try this again. Now, it should be a little bit gray. You don't want it to be too dark quite yet, till you get to the center. And I will put this on super speed so you don't have to sit through all this. If it's too dark, you can always go to eraser and erase a little bit to lighten it up. Or if it becomes too dark, you can also change your opacity. I should mention that the darker the texture is, the more transparent it will become when it is imported into Unity. The reason why my texture looks different than it was just before is because my Photoshop crashed, so I had to redo it. Remember, always save your work. So, now that we're here, go to Channels and click on RGB. It should look a little pink, like this. And now, what you want to do is, you want to make something like a mask. So, I've chosen the Magic Wand tool, and you want to try to highlight everything that you've done. You don't necessarily need to get all these little bits. And if you have a way to highlight this faster than this, go for it. You just need to make a selection around it. Okay, now you want to copy it. I'm pushing Control-C, because this is a Windows computer. And now, you want to go and highlight and click on your RGB. It should highlight all of your layers in Channels. And you want to paste it in. should look something similar to this. Now, you know you have it right if you hide all the layers, and Alpha 1 should look like this. And if you do the reverse, it should still appear. Now, you want to hide your Alpha 1 channel, and this is it for your transparency texture, unless you want to add extra stuff, like, because this is ice, be smart to put some cracks inside. And remember, you want black, makes it more transparent. So you have to use white. Once you're finished with your texture, go to File, Save As. You want to save this as a PNG, not a JPEG. PNG. I shall title this Cracked. Save it where you can find it, of course. Now that this is done, you can finally go into Unity. I already have mine opened up. Here's my model. It's just blank, but this is going to be the lake bed and the lake, as it is appropriately named. Now, what you want to do is start importing your textures. So, if you go to Assets, go to Import New Asset, you should have a list. You can start importing them at random. It doesn't matter the order. You can mess with that later. So I shall import my Targa, which is the lake bed. Oh. For some reason it went automatically, but what you usually do is you click and drag that Targa, and you can put it on top of your model, like this. See? Just click and drag. It's pretty easy. And now, go to Assets again, for me. If you can somehow import them all by highlighting them, go ahead, but for some reason, my computer does not allow that, so I shall import these all quickly. Now that you've imported everything you need, here becomes the tricky part. Your normal map that you got, however, if you made it, if you got it offline, you first have to make it a normal map in Unity. So you go to Texture Type, where it says Texture right here, and click Normal Map. Now, make sure it says Create from Grayscale. This will help with your whole texture. Click Apply. It may look crazy like this in the corner. Don't worry about that. We'll fix that later. Now that you've done that to your normal map, go to your texture that you want to be transparent. Texture type should stay as texture, but you also want to click Alpha from Grayscale. This will make it transparent. I know it says Alpha is transparent. Don't worry about that. Alpha from Grayscale works. So apply that as well. Now that you have your textures all situated, you can click and drag if you want, But that's not what we want. Not for this and not for transparency. So, right click, go to create, go all the way down to material. Now, you can name the material whatever you want. I'll just call this water and ice. There you have it. Should be blank. And you want to put this to transparent and go to bumped diffuse. Should look like this. Now you have two boxes here. This is where you put your textures. You want your normal map, so click and drag that and put it in the bottom one. It helps, it even says normal map. And go to your other texture that you wanted to be transparent. Put this above. Don't switch it. So now look down here. You can see it looks all texturized. Click and drag that material. Put it over wherever you want. And now you can see through it. Look at that. But as you can see, it looks a little messy. The cracks aren't very beautiful. But what I'm getting at is all this weird grainy stuff in the ice. We don't want that. So go to your normal map. This is where you can change it by going to the bumpiness. If it's max bumpy, the more grainy looking it'll be. If you go to a lighter one, click apply. Voila! Look at that. It's not nearly as in your face, and it doesn't look as bad. And you're done.